What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and if you're new to this channel, I realize this channel is kind of new. This is something that I created just for wrestling content, kind of broke away from the SG1 Sports channel to do videos just on wrestling here on this channel, just because a lot of my audience over on that channel just doesn't like to see this stuff. So if you're new to the channel, we're going to have lots of wrestling content here, videos like this, a lot of gaming videos where we look at potential storylines and maybe go old school and play some of the older wrestling games. So if you're into that, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Again, lots of wrestling content here on this channel, and it's something that I'm trying to kind of get going here in the very early stages. I realize we don't even have 300 subscribers yet, but if you guys are interested in this channel, you subscribe, I'll start doing more and more content here over on this channel. So about this storyline, who will Braun Strowman's partner be at WrestleMania? I think that they could go two different directions with this. I think they could put someone with him, and they could win the tag titles, and they could go on to be champions for several months, have a nice reign as tag team champions. That way you don't really have to worry about Braun Strowman competing for the Universal Championship right now, because everyone's going to assume, why not put him in line for that? So if he's a tag team champion, then maybe you could go that route. Or you bring someone in, they don't get along, it doesn't go so well, they don't win the match, and it sets up a feud for Braun Strowman and his mystery partner going forward. So those are two different ways you could look at it. We're going to start with our first name, and that is Rey Mysterio. And these are just the names that have been floating around the internet. Some of them are absolutely not going to happen, and it doesn't look like Rey Mysterio is going to happen. This was my first pick. Would have loved to have seen this team together. You had the power and size of Braun Strowman, the speed of Rey Mysterio, but Rey Mysterio does have a torn bicep. A few days ago, I think he was doing an interview and said he would be out about another month, which of course that could be a swerve. Maybe he's not really injured. Maybe he comes back as a surprise. I don't really think that seems to be the case here. It does seem like a legitimate injury, and I do expect him back in WWE maybe in the next month or so, but I don't really think he's going to be Braun Strowman's partner. So unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be Rey Mysterio. The next name is Batista, and I know a lot of people would love to see him back in WWE, and he has talked about it. He said that he would like to come back. He said that he'd really like to work with Triple H, but he has more movies coming up, and do you really think he would come back to be a partner in a tag team with Braun Strowman? I don't really see that happening. I don't think that he's going to come back for something like that. He probably views himself as equal to like The Rock or someone like that now that he's done all these movies, and I don't see him coming back for that. He's going to come back for like a main event match or something like that. So I don't really expect him to come back right now anyways, and even if he was going to come back, again, I just don't see him being part of a tag team with his big return. So you could probably cross him out. The next one is very interesting, and that is James Storm. James Storm was at Raw. He was backstage at Raw this past Monday. Don't know if there's anything to that. He could have just been there visiting friends, or really don't know if there's anything there. He had a brief stint in NXT a couple of years ago, and then he went back to TNA. So I don't really expect this one to happen. I just think it would be a really cool tag team. The Cowboy James Storm. Braun Strowman is kind of a redneck. If you look at his Instagram, it says, "I like to do redneck things with my redneck friends," or something like that. So the two of them, the two country boys, would be an intriguing tag team. And if James Storm is potentially coming back, I could see him coming into this role, but I think he probably goes to NXT first if he is indeed coming back. How about the next name? A lot of people have said this name, and that is James Ellsworth. We recently saw James Ellsworth winning a tag team championship with Gillberg. Yes, Gillberg. And I don't think this is going to happen. I don't think that it'll be James Ellsworth. But I could see someone like that, just a jobber, a really small guy that comes out and never even gets in the matches. They just kind of stand there just so technically Braun Strowman does have a partner, but it's really just going to be him being the whole team. So just, they could just get somebody just to fill that space, basically a nobody, someone that you've never even heard of. They could go that route, and I think that's a real possibility. But I think the fans would be a little bit disappointed if they did something like that. So not James Ellsworth, though, at least I don't think. Next, it could be a potential NXT superstar. There are a lot of names in NXT that are close to, I think, being ready to get called up. You have some guys that probably have peaked down in NXT. They're not going to be super big stars, and they've kind of been forgotten. And you could see one of those guys, getting called up just for a brief run with Braun Strowman, see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, they'll probably just let them go. Or if it goes well, maybe they're a surprise, and this person can come up and start being on the main roster full time. So I don't know if there's anyone down there. I did come up with 2 names that could potentially, I guess, fill this role if you were going to call someone up from NXT. First up, we've got Steve Cutler. You may not have really heard of him. He's done a little bit with NXT. I haven't seen him on NXT TV in a really long time. But someone like that, someone that's just not really been in the picture in NXT. Braun Strowman he really never debuted in NXT. So potentially someone like that. Or how about someone like Lars Sullivan, Gillian Dane, maybe, a big guy to come in and be a dominant force with Braun Strowman. I don't really think Lars Sullivan is ready. So I don't know that they go this route, but you could potentially call someone up, and this could be their ticket to get to the main roster. So could it be someone like Lars Sullivan? Who knows? I don't really think they're going to go that route, and I will give you my prediction here at the end of the video. Up next, we've got Samoa Joe. Yes, Samoa Joe is expected to be back from injury. I do expect him to be back within the next week or so. I personally think they'll probably save him for the Raw after WrestleMania. You always have at least one big return that night. I think Samoa Joe is probably going to return that night. I don't really know how he would do in a tag team. To me, he's too big to be in a tag team. So I don't really think that they would go that route. If they did go this route, I think they would go with that option I talked about, where the team would not get along, things would not go well, they would lose, and we could get a Braun Strowman versus Samoa Joe feud moving forward. Now, I could see them going that route, but I don't really see this team being a long-term tag team. And our next person is basically the exact same story as Samoa Joe, and that is Big Cass. He is also expected to return from his injury. And it's basically exactly like Samoa Joe. I don't know that. I guess I would see this one as being more likely because he's been in a tag team before, and there's going to be all these guys at the top. How do you decide who gets the push, who doesn't? So maybe just for now they could bring Big Cass back. I think it's more likely, and I think we could see Big Cass or Samoa Joe, one guy return at WrestleMania, one guy return on the Raw after WrestleMania. So again, I think Big Cass is more likely here. But I don't really think they go this route with either of these guys. I know they're really high on Big Cass, and they're probably going to push him pretty early on. Might have him go for the Universal Championship after he returns. Next is Elias, and this was the very first name that seemed to be out there. A lot of people thought it was going to be Elias. I think he has entered the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, so I don't really think that's going to be the case. He also said he was going to put on the greatest concert ever or something like that. I think there's going to be an angle potentially with Elias and The Rock, where The Rock comes out and does a Rock concert, because he is rumored to be at WrestleMania. I don't think he's going to have a match, but he could appear there. So being in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, I do not think Elias will be Braun Strowman's partner. It was interesting that he was the name that came out first, because the two had just had a pretty intense rivalry. So I didn't really get that, but again, I don't think it's going to be Elias, and I think it's most likely going to be one of these last 2 names. First, we got to go to Bray Wyatt. Of course, he was deleted by Matt Hardy, and Braun Strowman actually posted something just the other day about the boys are back in town or something like that. It was him and Bray Wyatt, just kind of teasing that. Because he did that, I'm going to say it won't be Bray Wyatt, because I'm sure they want it to be a secret. They don't want to give any hints out. But I could definitely see this working. They've been together before. I think because Bray Wyatt was deleted, he has to kind of come back different, though. So I would expect him to maybe look a little different. Maybe he cuts his hair or something like that if they go this route. And it's definitely a possibility. That kind of gives you something for Bray Wyatt to do. So yeah, it's possible, but I kind of think it's going to be this first one. or this last one I should say, and that is Big Show. This seems to be the most likely partner for Braun Strowman. He's just signed a multi-year contract. He's back. He's recovered from his injuries. So it does look like he will be returning very soon. And I think this would obviously be a monstrous tag team. Braun Strowman and Big Show, maybe the largest tag team of all time. And again, I think this is most likely. It's not what I want to see. I really don't want to see this tag team. But unfortunately, all signs seem to be pointing towards Big Show. But again, I think I would probably go with the number 2 option would be Bray Wyatt, and number 3, Big Cass. I think it's likely between those 3. I've seen some other names floating around, like maybe Drew McIntyre returns to be his partner, but I don't see that one happening really. All the other names that I've seen out there just really don't make sense to me. So who do you think it'll be? Do you think it'll be one of these names that we talked about? Do you think it'll be someone that I totally missed, someone completely out of left field? I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, who you think it will be, or do you think it's going to be Big Show and Braun Strowman, and they could form maybe the most dominant tag team of all time? And if they pair them up, Big Show and Braun Strowman, you would have to think they're going to win, and they're going to go on a lengthy run as Raw Tag Team Champions. And check this out. If they go with that, maybe down the road, the Bludgeon Brothers come over to Raw, and we get a feud between those 2 teams. That would be good stuff. But again, let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Wrestling channel.